Hey guys, Spud here, and today I wanted to just make a bit of an off-the-cuff and very unscripted video here to talk about how I make DCS World look so nice in all of my YouTube videos, shorts, and in screenshots that I post into my Discord community. I've been getting a lot of comments on YouTube, PMs on Discord, and even being commented at on Twitter from folks who are understandably very disappointed to the point of being quite frustrated on how bad DCS World looks for them. And folks have been really badgering me and asking me for graphical options settings in DCS, as well as what my presets are for reshade and other filtering programs that people kind of throw my way and things like that. And I wanted to really dig into that and explore this with you guys here in just a kind of unscripted, free-flowing manner. Now, in all of my DCS World productions for YouTube, screenshots on Discord, etc., I use zero post-processing, whether that be through a filtering program like Reshade, or by doing any post-processing or graphical changes via any video editors. The only video editing I do is for different cuts and transitions and things like that, just to make DCS World videos look presentable on YouTube. So, right here around us today, we have the prime example of what a lot of folks in DCS tend to think is really horrific looking and really ugly. We've got a mission here that we're flying in with our F-14 that is at 12 noon, with the sun directly overhead in June on a map Syria that's pretty close to the equator, which puts the sun even further directly right overhead. And what that means is we have a very, very plain looking map. There are almost no distinct shadows that we can see, and the fact that the sun is directly overhead makes the terrain around us look super bright to the point of looking unrealistic, but our cockpit here is super dark and covered in shadows, again, because the sun is directly overhead. And if we go to an external view of our jet, even the skin of our jet, which is a really pretty skin that I made for the F-14, looks just kind of blah and just very ugly, and the colors look washed out and weird, and it just doesn't look good. There's all these bizarre looking shadows on the sides of the jet and any vertical surfaces of the jet, and it just doesn't look great. And if this were the entire DCS World experience, I would be super frustrated too. But honestly, this is a realistic depiction of what this looks like when flying in real life at 12 noon in the summertime near the equator, or somewhat close to the equator. And this is exactly what it looks like when I say fly over the American Southwest at 12 noon at work flying for the airlines. It's boring, it's dull, everything just looks terrible. You have to wear sunglasses to keep from going snowblind practically, and it's just no fun to fly over because everything just looks terrible, just like we're seeing here in DCS. So it's not necessarily unrealistic. And I think this kind of situation that we have going on right now here graphically in DCS is unfortunately what most new players see right off the bat, because most of the training missions that come with DCS World modules, they try to make things as bright and as visible as possible to make the actual training easier, so that way you can dig down and see everything in the cockpit of your Tomcat, or your Viper, or your Hornet, or whatever it is you're trying to learn. And unfortunately, that doesn't help too much when it comes to making DCS World, the game, look nice. As well as the fact that a lot of the most popular, kind of persistent multiplayer servers out there tend to kind of be this summertime at 12 noon with the sun directly overhead, to make it, again, as easy as possible on the players that are in that server, especially if it's a PvP server, to not give anybody any kind of advantage that could be delivered by having nighttime, sunrise or sunset, or any kind of weather in that mission that could potentially be seen as unfair. Now, that said, all of that in the past, let's talk about how we can make DCS World look fantastic. So let's go ahead and exit out of our mission file here, and let's go over to the mission editor, and let's turn that exact same scene that we were just flying in our Tomcat into something absolutely gorgeous and breathtaking. And honestly, guys, I don't even have to share any graphical settings here. You guys can do this exactly as you're following along with me here, without having to change a single graphical setting or anything in terms of hardware in your PC. It's all a function of the mission editor and how you create and put together the mission. So the biggest, of course, influence here is going to be the weather tab. Now, when you're flying in a server, or you're creating a mission, or you're flying in a MIS file that is on a map like Syria here, close to the equator, we never, ever, ever want to fly during the summertime. We're looking to create long, dramatic shadows in DCS to make DCS look amazing. And so that's going to really give a ton of relief and a ton of depth and texture to, say, all of these little mountain ridges and things that kind of run from Damascus to the northeast to the Palmyra area of the Syria map. So the best time of year to fly on the Syria map, in my opinion, graphically, is in the March or February timeframe. So let's go for March here. And then we also want to bring the sun from, instead of being directly overhead, let's bring the sun down a little bit, and let's bring ourselves closer towards around 8:30 or so in the morning. Now, flying around 8:30 in the morning on the Syria map is not going to be quite sunrise, so we're not going to have a lot of those dramatic yellows and oranges that really make the scene look very, very warm. Instead, around 8:30 or so, the DCS lighting engine will start to bring a bit of a cooler look to all of the colors that are in the sky around us in DCS. And that is where I always get the best, most beautiful screenshots of DCS. So we're 8:30 in the morning on March 1st on the Syria map. The year, of course, doesn't really matter so much. Okay, next, we got to figure out a way to take these long shadows that we just created by changing the month and the time of day that we're flying at. And then we have to take that very hard light of creating those long shadows, and we need to soften that light up. And we also need to cool that light even more than if we had no clouds at all. So when it comes to the weather presets, my go-to weather presets for actually creating screenshots for you guys, as well as making tutorial videos, things like that, are going to be light scattered 2 if I want a nice kind of clear day for flying and creating a tutorial, or if I want a little bit more weather going on, I like to go with scattered 3. And then also, I like to also use the new presets that were added relatively recently, Light Rain 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, lately, I've been finding that Light Rain 4 is my absolute favorite when it comes to getting really beautiful screenshots for DCS and making DCS look super dramatic, elongate those shadows, soften up that light, and make everything look really, really nice. So with that, that's all you got to do to make DCS look fantastic. And one last change here, we're going to bring up the base of the clouds here for our Light Rain 4 preset up as high as they can go, up to 17,000 feet, or just under 17,000 feet. In terms of the wind, that's kind of up to you. You really don't need wind to make DCS look nice, but it can be kind of cool to, of course, make, say, long exposure shots where you do have clouds kind of moving across the scene within DCS, which is pretty cool. So with that, we are good to go to actually jump into the cockpit and see how much nicer we made DCS World look. So let's go ahead and save that mission file, and then we are going to jump on in, and hopefully DCS World doesn't crash here as we load into this mission. And looking good so far. Beautiful. And we'll jump into our F-14 exactly in the same spot where we started off the video and we can already see things are looking so much nicer. So let's go ahead and pop the autopilot on, altitude hold mode on, so that way we can chat. So guys, as we can see here, we have made just a few simple and easy changes to absolutely transform our experience graphically here within DCS World. We've created those nice long dramatic shadows along, say, this ridge line here that runs from Damascus out to the Palmyra area that really adds relief to these small little mountain ridges and makes them look much bigger than they looked when we first started off the video. And then we've taken those longer shadows and that lower angle of the sun and taken that very hard, very warm light, and we've softened it up and cooled it down by adding in a bunch of clouds around us, which really makes the scene look a lot bluer and gives things a much cooler look, in my opinion. We can also see, of course, that the variance in the shadows from the clouds themselves on the ground makes things look a lot rougher, have a lot more texture, all that good stuff. And it just makes DCS World look that much better. And even if we were to look at the outside of our aircraft, our skin that we spent so much time creating is now looking much nicer. We're not going to have those bizarre looking shadows on the vertical surfaces of our Tomcat, things of that nature, and the softer, cooler light that's coming through these clouds from our sun is making the colors of the skin pop a lot better and look a lot nicer. And then on top of that, of course, we have our cockpit here. Our cockpit looks a lot brighter in comparison to the terrain around us, which looks a lot more natural to our kind of eye here being in the cockpit of our Tomcat, and just really kind of looks the way you'd expect things to look, if that makes sense. So I hope this really helps you guys out here, and you can really see just how easy it is to make DCS look great. And I promise you guys 100%, I am not using reshade and I am not doing any post-processing to any of my DCS World videos. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. I really hope this short little off-the-cuff tutorial transforms your experience in DCS. Fly safe out there and enjoy this beautiful game. And this here is why I call it a beautiful game.